Hey all, Kurt Sasso here from TGT Webcomics at Kids Read Comics. We're here with Randy from Flint Comix. How you doing today?
I'm just doing real good, real good.
You know, when I came here, I didn't know what to expect. This is the first time we've been here, and I have to say I've been pleasantly surprised by everyone that's here with the amount of content that they have. And when I walked by this booth, I saw amazing artwork, amazing comics, and in an old format, old style that you don't always see, and I'm glad to see that you're here.
Well, thanks. This is literally the paper that I always wanted to read when I was a kid. So it folds out into a regular newspaper, but it's small enough to fit as a like a flyer on a store's desktop, not take up a whole lot of room.
Right, exactly.
But it folds out to a regular newspaper with all sorts of different comic strips inside.
Oh, that's cool.
Articles of local interest. Mm-hmm. Some national, some local artists, as many local artists we can get our hands on. We just had our first anniversary at issue 11, and issue 12 is our Made in Michigan issue.
Really?
Where we went around and found as many talented folks in the area as we could, gave them a page, ran a sample of their strip, how you can contact them, and where you can go to enjoy their strip if we don't already print them.
So that's amazing. You're reaching out to the local community and really breaking the walls of the publication aspects that really showcase their work that they might not be doing already as well, and that's great to see.
Well, the biggest thing that I've learned in the last year of doing this is that there are walls, and those walls shouldn't be there, because literally one of our mottos is everybody loves free comics. So we go out and some of the national strips that we print are a couple months old, but folks have never seen them before. Folks around Flint have never seen Leo or Argyle Sweater, or we just picked up Judge Dredd and James Bond, because we found that folks want to read adventure strips if they can get it in a large enough story to enjoy it. It's just like reading reading a regular comic book, where they get just a small chapter of the larger story. Well, we've been running Flash Gordon since the start, because Flash Gordon's one of my very favorite strips. I've always loved it, every incarnation of it. Just the idea of it has always been a favorite of mine. So I got to print it. It's like a dream project come true for me. It's the paper that I've always wanted to read it when I was a kid. So it's got a combination of comic stories, comic strips, single panel strips, just anything we can get our hands on that's different. It's got a big variety and is a really good professional quality.
Now, I was watching you draw as well. You're a pretty darn good artist there, too.
Thanks. It was, I blame my parents, because when I was a kid, there were only 3 channels on television, and you had to keep yourself entertained, and I was really big into the Batman TV show and the different, shows that were on Saturday morning, so I really got to love comics, really got into reading comics, because when I was a kid, my folks would never let me have superheroes, which just made them more attractive to me. I always wanted to find out more, so I did all this research in the history, and that's when I really started loving comic strips and all the different adventure strips that were out there, and anything that was close to superhero, not quite. So Adam Strange was really big for me, Flash Gordon was really big for me, Atomic Knights was, the old DC science fiction reprints. So I had a really thorough education of comics before I could even buy superhero strips or superhero books. So once I got into that, it just,
took off.
Yeah, and that's a love that's been going on all my life. And my uncle gave me a book when I was 8 on how to draw simple cartoons.
Oh, really?
Sitting down and breaking your favorite animation characters down into basic shapes. So now I do almost a cartoony style to my work. So which means that whenever I tell, that's all my work, but whenever I tell a more serious story, I usually go out and find a more serious penciler and to sit down and break down the actual pages.
That's amazing. I was really looking at that, and I love this cartoony style, because you can really show emotion in a simple character, especially if it's colored beautifully as it is here, and if it's drawn amazingly as it is. So that's great to see.
Yeah, that's Photoshop right there with that color. That's well done. Real lucky with that. Yeah.
And really what it comes down to is you're not doing this just by yourself, though. You have someone else assisting you.
No, I'm in it with a partner on the paper part, but there's all sorts of different talent that works on the inside of the comics. The background of the comics is a friend of mine, Ted Valley, and I have the comic book background, and he's got the marketing background. So it's really it never was meant to be a one-man show. Really, it was meant to be a 3-man show where we had somebody with the marketing background and somebody who could go out and get the advertising sales, because we're in Flint, which is about an hour north of Detroit, and it's very economically depressed, almost as much, if not more, than Detroit. So to actually have a paper up there, we're finding, of course, we just plowed ahead and did it, but to have a paper up there that's actually making its way off of print advertising is a huge thing. So now we've got everybody coming to us going, what are you doing? What are you doing that makes people advertise in your paper? We're printing 10,000 of these every month, 10,000, and we've got big and small advertisers in it that are supporting us, and we distribute it to family restaurants, in libraries, bookstores, coffee shops, comic shops, laundromats, every place that we can. And our audience is really universal, which is amazing. It's startling to see the amount of people, or the range of people that are reading this. We have big corporate heads that we'll bump into at a function and go, I haven't read Cat and Jammer Kids since I was a little small lad, but the Leo strip in there, or the Spark strip, or the Fool strip in there is just hilarious. You need to keep going with that. It's amazing. Comics are really universal, and that's part of the reason why I'm here, is because it's the kids read comics. There's a whole generation of kids that I found that are growing up without comics, and that's really a travesty. Shouldn't happen. And events like this are really need support. And there's so many awesome products here that are aimed at an open audience, a family audience. It's not just this really narrow demographic that Marvel and DC seems to only want to figure that they exist, mostly males between 20 and 40 years of age with a huge amount of income. Comics are for everybody. And they're so accessible anymore. The majority of the stuff that we print, I would say about 70% of it's available online if you want to dig it up. But folks love our paper because they take it when they're out at the doctor's office or sitting at the laundromat. The laundromats are just crazy with it. We go through and drop off like 75 to 100 at every laundromat, and then the next week or so we go back and they're gone. But anyway, we're printing 10,000. We're getting back maybe 300 or 400 every issue, and that's crazy in the newspaper business. So we're looking at bumping up our run. We're getting ready with a series of newspaper boxes. Whoops, sorry, Bill. Newspaper boxes that we just picked up. That'll be outside stand boxes. So hopefully within the next couple of months, folks will be able to walk out of a Myers or a Kroger, and there's this box with Flint Comix sitting there so people can come in and take one. So that's really our goal. Comics for everybody. I got to tell you, the last year for me has been, and I was in this market. I've been in doing small press comics since the 1980s. 85 was my first book. Actually, Bill Loeb's printed my first story in the back of Journey way back in, I think it was 83. But and growing up, like I said, this is the paper I've always wanted to read. Comics shouldn't just be in specialty shops. It should be everywhere because it's such an open medium. All you have to do is have pictures and words together, and tell an awesome story.
And you're definitely doing that. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview. What's the website, if we have one?
We have a website, but it's really shameful right now. Okay. It's not because we've been working on the paper so much, and we're so locally based right now. We're looking at really breaking it out within the next couple months, but we do have Flint Comix with an X.com as our site, but don't go there yet because it's a mess. But we do have a Facebook page and a MySpace page back when MySpace was really rolling. A couple years ago, we started that MySpace page. We have a few stories up there, like some of our origin stories of some of the brands that we carry that aren't national brands, and we carry a wide variety of properties and stuff up there. So really, the MySpace page is where I'd send people first. Facebook page second, if they really want to talk to us. All of us are on Facebook. The majority of the talent are readily available. Love to hear feedback from anybody who picks up any of our stuff, and especially any of the national cartoonists. If you run across a cartoon that we carry, track that national cartoonist down and say, hey, saw you in Flint Comix, thought you were awesome. And that's really our pride and joy.
Well, thanks again, and have a great rest of your weekend here at Kids Read Comics.
Anytime. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for